good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this. I'm Chris Corrado. We are here for another episode on Rock Hill Video. As I always like to say at the beginning of every show, all of our guests are welcome to come on here and talk about the issues. There's no pressure, there's no judgment, there's no mistreating anybody. It doesn't matter which political party you represent. Everyone gets a fair shot. I don't bring anybody on here to bash them or praise them. We've done a couple of debates, and everyone always knows if they come on here, you're not going to get extra time or less time, depending on what you're saying or where you stand. Everyone gets an equal opportunity. I did go to Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and my major was mass communication with a concentration in journalism. I feel it's always important to have good ethics when it comes to news reporting and to state the facts and report what someone stated, and not just mistreat somebody because you may not agree with them, or give them special treatment because you do. Tonight is Monday. It is January 25th, 2021, 7:16 p.m. Tonight we have on Brandon Upson, who is actually in South Carolina, just like I am. I'm sure if you've been watching the show, we've talked to people, all over the country, from all different types of races, presidential, mayor, etc., and all different time zones, and like I said, all different political parties, from the two major ones to third parties. So, Brandon, thank you for coming on tonight.
Man, thank you for having me, Chris. I'm happy to be here, man.
Absolutely. I was on Facebook, and your like page just happened to pop up. I wasn't sure what it was, so I clicked on it, and I said, well, okay. I was reading up on you, and I was interested, so I'm like, well, let's find out how we can get him on the show. So I messaged you.
Cool. Crazier things have happened to bring to cross paths, man.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So I know you live down in Aiken, South Carolina, or at least that's where you're from, right?
Yeah, I'm from Aiken. Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, I live right here, Fort Mill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about Aiken and just early life, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I was raised in Aiken, South Carolina. If anyone doesn't know where Aiken is on the border of Georgia and South Carolina. If you think about Augusta, Georgia, where the Masters is played, from the house I was raised in, I could drive 20 minutes and be at the Augusta Nationals golf course. So, growing up there, I was the oldest of my mom's two, second oldest of my father's six, and raised by my grandparents, my great-grandmother and grandparents, who helped my mom, who was a young single mother at the time. We grew up, everybody has a story, right? Grew up in the most modest of means, trying to make it and trying to make ends meet. I just had the fortunate pleasure to go back to my family's house, a 3-bedroom, where at any given time 8 to 10 of us was there. But it really taught me the meaning of perseverance, and leadership. Like, my grandmother at a very early age made sure that I knew what it meant to be a leader, which is what drove me to go into the military at a young age. But Aiken is everything to me. That is my home. I love it, and I love the people there. It's a bunch of hardworking folks.
Okay. And now you're married with children?
Yeah, I have three little ones: a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Oh, wow.
The two oldest are my daughters, and then I have a son named Patrick, who is just a ball of energy right now. He's probably downstairs jumping off of something. I guarantee you, He's doing that. But it's just been a life-changing experience to become a father. It's what changed my course of action, because for a while I turned away from politics and to try to get what folks call a real job, and it's just my calling to do this work. So I am happy to be back, and we've seen some great success since I got back into the arena in 2016.
Okay. So you definitely have your hands full at home.
Yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. I just heard my wife tell my son to stop jumping.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Just there.
Okay, so you're over in Fort Mill. That's right next door to Rock Hill, so we're pretty close.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And we're
So,
actually looking at houses in Rock Hill now.
oh
So
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Well, it's a really nice place. I mean, I like it.
yeah.
There's a lot of good people here.
Yeah,
A lot of.
we love the area.
Okay, good, good. It's
Yeah,
definitely a growing area with a good bit of stuff to do depending on what you're looking for. So, okay.
absolutely.
And I know you did say that you'd spent some time in the military, to be more specific, the Army. So thank you for your service.
Hmm. No, thank you for your support.
No problem. All day, all day. And I see that you had served in Iraq and you are a decorated veteran.
Yes, yeah. I was deployed to Iraq when I was 17 years old. I'm sorry, 19 years
Oh,
old. I
okay.
joined the military when I was 17. I deployed to Iraq when I was 19. Came home when I was 21. I tell folks I grew up and became a man in a war zone, literally. But yeah, I went there. I was attached to the 14th Engineering Battalion, the 122nd Engineer Company, as their nuclear, chemical, biological, radiological specialist, and
Mm.
reclassed as a combat engineer. Um, and I wanted to be special forces, so I was doing all this stuff to prepare me for the special forces. So I did all that, high speed, low drag, hula type things that I'm feeling in my back and my knees today.
Mm.
But after a few deployments, I came back home and decided I wanted to slow it down. My grandmother got sick, so I wanted to stay home. And every deployment list, my name is Upson. I'm normally used to being last for all the good stuff, but I was number one for all the deployments.
Mm.
So kind of changed gears, especially once my wife got pregnant. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a day with my children. So I called it quits after 11 years of service.
Okay. So I'm guessing somebody had to sign off on you to go at 17, join the military.
Yeah, my mom.
Okay.
Man, in high school, I was in ROTC, knowing I wanted to. 9/11 happened. After that, I knew I wanted to go into the Marines,
Okay.
but the Marines said no because I was 17, and Army National Guard recruiter heard me talking to the Marine Corps recruiter, and he said, "Wait, I have a way for you to join the military now, and then you can go active duty as soon as you leave high school." It's like, okay, sign me up. But the key was I needed my mom to sign my release forms. So I told him to come at my house after 9 o'clock. That's normally after she got off her second job and was tired.
Mm.
And she would basically just go along with anything almost.
Oh wow.
So so I told her at like 8:30 that he was coming, and eventually after a lot of yelling, she agreed and signed my paperwork. But he promised her that I was not going to go to Iraq. And 2 months after I came home from my advanced infantry training, I got my orders, and she cursed him out every single day until I got home.
Mm.
Like to this day, when I see him, he reminds me of how much hell my mom gave him while I was deployed to Iraq. But I'm so happy I did it. My family is happy and proud. I was the only second person in my family to join the military and the first to serve in combat that we know of. And it's just an honor to serve.
Okay. I was also, when I was reading your profile, I read about something called the Unity Initiative.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What is that?
So when I met my wife in Charleston, South Carolina, we were both students at the College of Charleston. And after we had our first daughter, and then our second one was on the way, we decided we needed to be closer to family because neither of us had family in Charleston. So moved back home to Aiken, and that's when, I felt that my work had evolved from shooting, moving, and communicating in the Army to serving my community in another capacity to bridge gaps. And one of the biggest gaps that I saw was the gap between our minority communities and local law enforcement officers. I really got into organizing and community work after Trayvon Martin was murdered down in Florida, and just seeing how that evolved after being home. The young guys I was mentoring had a lot of negative things to say about our local law enforcement officers, of which many I served in Iraq with or went to high school with. So I knew these guys and I knew their character. So I wanted to figure out a way to bridge the gap between our local law enforcement officers and our community. So we decided to do a Unity Day where we would bring the community and local law enforcement together to create some positive interactions, and that would lead into what we called courageous conversations later, so that we could start to build what I consider to be super communities.
Okay. So I guess, Brandon, it's safe to say you're very big on community and public relations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it was great doing the Unity Initiative. The first event we did, I think it had almost 2,000 people attend. Yeah, and the second one got even bigger than that. We started having people traveling, 2 states over to join us for it. But since moving, we haven't done another one in Aiken since. We did one in Charleston and was getting ready to plan one for Charlotte, but it just didn't work out. But now we have our organization. We have an organization, Amplify Action, which focuses on building political power within marginalized communities across the South.
Okay. And I also read up on something that I found very interesting, that you are a political magician. Can you tell our viewers what that means?
Yeah, so there was an article written about me, a little after I started running campaigns, saying that I was a political magician because I had won a series of elections that were not supposed to be winnable at all. Yeah, so they called me the little magician. There was a guy in Charleston, South Carolina, Mayor Joe Riley. He was running for his last term as mayor. The New York Times actually said that he had less than a 50% chance of winning. And I told him and his board that I could make sure he won with 70% of the vote.
Wow.
Everybody laughed at me, but we got 69 point something percent of the vote. So, after that, the mayor said he saw something in me and, start spreading the word about what I was capable of. And then I turned around and there was a guy who ran against the mayor, but he was running for re-election. His district completely changed from being a 70% favorable district for him to being only a 10% favorable district for him. 5 other people had jumped into the race. Again, he wasn't supposed to win at all, but we won with 63% of the vote. Then, and I had about 4 situations like that, but Dudley Gregory became one of the first African Americans in Charleston to serve in a majority district in the city council. And as of today, I've done almost 40 campaigns, everything from city council and now up to president. Got it.
Okay. I'm sure that you have your tactics and whatnot. Is there anything specific you might be able to share with what you did, or is that not something you can share?
No, I'll definitely share it because it's a lesson that I learned. Being in the military, most of the guys that I served with was good old country boys from Saluda, South Carolina, and the sticks outside of Savannah, Georgia. And many of them were not Democrats, right? But I knew that if you talk to them with an open ear and an open mind, you could find common ground. And I learned how to find common ground with anyone I spoke to. And that's one of the tactics that I use, just teaching people how to get on outside of themselves and get over themselves and say, there's 99.9% of the things in this world that we have to live with every day that you and I agree on. I'm not going to let that 0.1%, or 0.01% drive a huge wedge between us, right? So that's one thing I focus on campaigns. And then the last one is all campaigns are local, and no one knows the community better than the people who live in that community. And there's a quote that says, the person who is closest to the problem is the one closest to the solution. So when I run campaigns, especially larger campaigns, I make sure that at least 75% of my staff are local and they live there. So, so they're actually organizing their neighbors, their families, and their friends, and it works.
Okay, no, that's great information. I mean, it's all about being able to relate to people
Absolutely.
and really
Absolutely.
listening to people.
And, yeah. And, people get upset when they feel like you're parachuting into their community and you're bringing all of these folks in who have no interest in what is going to be left like when you leave. Because I've been a part of campaigns where I didn't have the authority to make decisions, but you look around afterwards and you've driven a wedge in that community that the people that are left there dealing with it have to figure out how to mend those relationships again. But everyone from that campaign have gone back to wherever the heck they came from and just left this community weaker than we found it. And I never liked that. So once I had an opportunity to change it, I decided to do that.
Okay, okay. Um, what else you have going on right now, politically or non-politically, that you wanted to share?
Man, we have two kids. Our daughter's in first grade and kindergarten at home right now, so that is a big deal for us because it is really tough with my kindergartner. She is, trying to adjust. I can't wait for us to be able to get back in class. And then, I got my son. He's because his birthday, he's 2 years behind her, but we're trying to get him caught up so he can skip a grade because once they are college age, I want them out of the house. So, so we have them back to back, so it's time to go.
Okay.
But even aside from that, with that organization, Amplify Action, it's a nonprofit 501c3 organization. And we are, again, like I said, building power within marginalized communities across the South. And we're focused specifically on Black and African American men in the South. One of the reasons why I chose that demographic to focus on is because when you look at statistics on education, incarceration, economic opportunity gaps, Black men are typically lower than Black women, Hispanic and Latinx men and women as well. But studies showed that whenever the Black male population steps up a notch, everyone pretty much does better. So I wanted to do something to help with that, right? So we started in June in the middle of the pandemic, focused on empowerment and civic education because I think that's the key to bridging those gaps. So we actually registered over 30,000 Black men in the South by October. Then we did another 10,000 from October to December, I believe, December 5th or 6th, something like that. And then we got actually 100% of those guys out to vote in the November election and then again in the Georgia special election. And our sister organization, Amplify Action Fund, actually mobilized about 450,000 African Americans to the polls this year or last year, in those 6 months that we had. Yeah. So it was a great, yeah, it was a great first half year. We're not a year old until June. But we have a lot more work to do, and one of the things about COVID, I was telling my team that works with me, it's like, in every crisis, there's an opportunity. And if you only focus on the crisis, you'll miss out on the opportunity that it presents. So this was our opportunity to use that time, that unintentional staycation that we all took part in, to kind of conspire on how we can make something happen to benefit our communities. And Amplify Action is what was birthed from March to June. And here we are. And I'm happy. I'm excited about what's next. We've employed over 350 young people across the South this last year. And we have some big plans coming up.
Got it. Okay. Is there a specific political party that you are aligned with?
Yeah. I call myself, I used to say I was a progressive.
Okay.
Until I met some quote unquote real progressives. And I was like, oh, I'm not that progressive as I thought. But I do consider myself an independent-minded Democrat.
Okay.
Because, again, growing up, we just had the United States Senate race here in South Carolina. My mom was good friends with Lindsey Graham. And our family voted for Lindsey Graham up until this last election, basically. And I'm from Aiken, South Carolina. You look at a ballot of 20 people, and every last one of those people are Republicans. And many of them are friends of the family or someone that So, I've learned to go through and look at the issues, look at the candidate, do my research, because I don't believe that your party affiliation makes you a hero or a villain, but it is what you do as the person that you are that qualifies you or disqualifies you for the office.
Okay. Is there, when you say independent-minded Democrat, what exactly what does that mean? Like, what would you say are some core values you have?
Yeah. So my sister and I, we were on the rifle team in high school. So we were both members of the NRA in high school, right? That put us in a lot of environments that many people don't expect me to say I was a part of. I participated in high school in Confederate reenactments because of where we live, the Battle of Aiken, right? Now, do I support the Second Amendment. I support it so much that I have rifles of my own. I'm no longer a member of the NRA, but I understand what that means. Also, growing up in a family where my grandfather was the pastor of our church, I found that I have more conservative values than I expected. But out of my 10 uncles, 4 of them are members of the LGBT community that my family accepted with open arms from the moment they came out to us. So that put us in a unique situation for our upbringing, right? So socially progressive, I would say. Fiscally moderate. I wouldn't say conservative or progressive, but moderate, because you need some common sense there. My military background, I believe in the strength of our military and what that does for us and how valuable our might is around the world. But I understand that, like the Bible says, it's what you do for the least of these. that is what's going to be recorded in the good book. And we need to make sure that we're doing the most that we can for those who can't do for themselves.
Okay.
So I'm like a hybrid. I'm all over the place, man.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much what follow-up question I had to that was what specific goals you have. So you definitely want to do as much for you can for people as you can, just to make it that simple. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, right now, you and I are both living in South Carolina, and it's a red state. If I went back, I don't know the last time it was blue. Who's won this state?
Back in the early '90s, it was a Democrat state for a very long time until the situation called lost trust happened.
Okay.
After lost trust, a lot of powerful Democrats went to jail for embezzlement and ethics charges, and almost overnight the state flipped. A lot of the Democrats who were considered quote unquote Dixiecrats changed their party affiliation from Democrat to Republican, and a lot of Democrats who held that party affiliation went to jail.
Oh, okay.
After that, 2000 came, the lines were redrawn, and it left us to where we are now, to where Republicans have about 2/3 of the House, and now tiptoeing towards, that in the state Senate.
Got it.
And all but one congressional district now.
Okay. Do you think it's better that we keep South Carolina red, or it doesn't really matter, or?
No, it matters. It matters a lot. Like me and my organizations, we work like hell to make sure that the most eligible people possible voted in November, and then again in Georgia's runoff election, right?
Right.
And what we ended up with was nearly half and half in the Senate and the United States House representatives, right? The Democrats only have a slim margin in Congress right now, and I think that benefits Americans as a whole. It's just like breaking up a monopoly and creating competition. In that competitive environment, the consumers win because the corporations have to make their products attractive and the most beneficial for the consumers. And I believe that's the same thing in our government. When one party has a supermajority, they no longer have to listen to the citizens because they can toe the line with their party and essentially put their party allegiance above their responsibility to the citizens they serve, because they know that they'll just, there's no accountability measures in place. In South Carolina, we have the demographics to be what you would consider a purple state, right? I don't think it's a ruby red state. I think that with the shifts from people moving in and folks, right now, folks are just moving all over South Carolina, but the lines don't allow the true demographics to show in the numbers in the House and the state Senate. We need more balance. What we have right now isn't working. When you look at us being at the bottom of nearly every ranking in America, opportunity, we're one of the lowest. Education, we're fighting for the bottom. Domestic violence, infant mortality, the list goes on and on and on. But we have a lot to work to do if we're going to change it, and it starts with us and changing the mentality of our communities.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Georgia, because we know that Joe Biden won Georgia, and Georgia became a blue state. So when you talk about competition, like I said, if one party continues to have that as a stronghold, and it's just an easy win, why put forth effort into doing anything if you're just going to win? What's the point? But if hey, wait a second, I can lose just like that, I better get better
Yeah.
I'm never really gonna. I might get to the point where I have such little say now about what goes on. So, that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
South Carolina, is it better to be blue? Is it better to be red? Or does it matter? Should it be, like you say, more of a purple state to where, you know, when you have that competition, it
There's
helps us.
competition.
Okay.
Right. And I was talking to one of our state senators. We're about to go through redistricting with the results of our census to change the lines of South Carolina. All of the lines will be determined this spring for our state, and then it'll be approved later. But my thinking is I don't want us to have any safe districts, right? We don't need a Republican safe district or a Democratic safe district. Let's make all of them competitive so that in order for me to win, I need to get buy-in from everyone and not just this one group of people and leave the other one out. Like that type of campaigning is what, I felt was uh, dangerous when I first started, and I would see the gaps left in communities, right? But now we see it on a national level where there are huge divides. Like I see families even now who are still not talking to one another because one supported Trump and the other one supported this one or whatever, right? And that is counterproductive to democracy and just our personal, mental, spiritual, emotional well-being to allow politics to break us the way it has been.
Got it. Yeah, because that's what I was about to ask you when you talk about the lines, and what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so every 10 years, the census is conducted to get our updated demographics. And those numbers that are produced by the census are given to our state legislator, and the state legislature determines what the district lines for each representative, each city council member, each state and federal elected officials' demographic lines look like. So it'll also let us know if we're going to lose districts because we lost numbers, population. Like we're going to see that in South Carolina, we're going to lose some state house districts, but we may, oddly enough, gain a congressional district. That total tally is still to be decided, but that's the shift. And what we're seeing is, a lot of minorities are flocking to certain areas, and they're coming out of the rural communities. And people who are moving here from other places are coming into different areas in our rural communities and changing the demographics. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when all this comes out. I hope that we get another congressional district, but if we don't, I hope that we see more competitive districts.
Okay. So we briefly talked about the 2020 election. How do you feel about the 2020 election? Is there anything specific that comes to mind or that we didn't talk about yet?
Relief, man.
Okay.
I'm just happy that it's over because it was two steps away from hell. It was a tough and it was almost like a bare knuckle fight with a bear. It was a lot going on and a lot to manage, but I'm happy with the results. There was some contention on the results and if it was legitimate or not. But I'm happy that we're on the other side of that and we can move forward. I'm extremely proud of the language that Joe Biden is putting out about unity, repairing, moving forward. I didn't expect to be as as happy with what he was saying, his messaging was, as I am, because that's exactly what we need. If we're going to do anything, we have to find a way to work together. One way to win an election is to build the biggest coalition of people and have them move in the same direction. And I believe the only way we're going to be able to move our country forward and compete against, China is making leaps and bounds to become the next superpower in the world, if we're going to keep them at bay, we're going to have a unified country to do so.
Right. Got it. Yeah, because like I said, I remember, on Facebook, of course, and you see it on social media. Everyone has their opinion. Everything from no,
Yeah.
this was a fair election. It just a lot more people either showed up or sent a ballot in, and then you have someone say no way, it was rigged, and there were votes magically appearing overnight. So it's just
Yeah.
like my head
Right.
could spin if I were to read all the stuff that I have friends who voted for Trump and did
It was
not vote
crazy.
for Trump to like blow my mind with this evidence that everybody has.
Yeah, man, my sister's brother was on the other side of the line from me on that.
Okay.
My not sister's brother, my sister's husband.
Okay.
He it's my family's just interesting. My sister's husband was a co-chair for President Trump's campaign in one of our counties here. I'm not going to mention which one, so I'll keep him. but yeah, it was interesting.
Okay. Are you and him? Hopefully, you're getting along and everything's okay. I know some people like you said,
Oh,
aren't getting along.
we've learned how to disagree.
Okay.
I didn't like him before that, so we're and that's all said with love.
Got it. Okay. So I guess my next question would be any specific advice you have for those living in South Carolina and nationwide about what we should do to have unity and move forward.
Yeah, and it's the thing that my wife says to me every day or every time I'm trying to figure out how to move forward. She tells me no matter what I do to do it in love and make that the purpose of my actions. And if we just take a second to just reevaluate the intentions or the source of our intention and see if it's really coming from a place of love or if it's coming from a place of retaliation or you know personal vindication or whatever it is, we need to be able to check ourselves and reevaluate how we're going to move forward. I think if we just take those 5 seconds with these actions and say, before I post this on social media, is this going to be coming from a place of love, right? Am I going to, this response that I'm putting on this post or this text that I'm making or, this phone call that I'm about to make, is it coming from a place of love? I think we start there and we'll see a lot of things start to shift. But then the second thing, I've been working in politics and policy for over 10 years now. And I know the only way that we make things happen is having as many people voting and participating in the daily process of democracy, whether that's showing up to city council or school board meetings or just making sure your neighbors went out and voted. We have to do it because the democracy, just like this country, belongs to the citizens, and it only works if we work it, and it works for us. So we got to take ownership and we got to be present and be active. So do all things in love and participate in democracy, and don't let democracy pass you by.
Got it. Okay, thank you. We all know, when COVID-19, we really started learning more about it, and there were a lot of shutdowns, and a lot of people, lost hours, lost their jobs, businesses closing down that
Oh man, yeah.
they may never open back up again. There's a lot nationwide. They're just not going to open back up again. What advice do you have on how we could
Yeah.
thrive, more than just survive, thrive economically during and after this pandemic?
One of the things, and I don't know if you saw it on my page, we were able, my wife and I, we fed 400 families across South Carolina during the holidays, just because we know how the impacts of COVID-19 and the pandemic has just ripped through economically vulnerable communities, right? Folks are, still trying to figure out how they're going to keep their lights on, but they don't have enough money to do both, keep the lights on and put food on the table. Uh, our business owners are having those same dilemmas. I have to rob Peter to pay Paul right now.
Right.
And now Peter doesn't even have enough for me to rob him to be able to fully pay off Paul. So I'm really desperate. And a couple of things that I would stress for especially small business owners: don't cling to the ways of the past. We will never see what we consider to be a normal society or normal business as usual that we saw January of last year, right? We have to adjust to the changes in our markets, the changes in our society. Look at those changes, evaluate your business structure, and see how you can meet the needs of our changing economy, right? A great example, my brother, my oldest brother, lives in Aiken. He's been a plant worker since he got out of high school. He's finished his degree and all this other great stuff, and he's been a manager for years. But what he noticed were people who were afraid to go to the restaurant or even the grocery store. And in the town that he lives in, there wasn't a delivery service. So he started doing it. And it started with just him making some plates, putting it on Facebook, and delivering the orders. And now, he's selling $5 plates, and it's almost matching his monthly salary, right? He saw a need, adjusted to it, and provided a solution. Now with our Small Business Administration, I think they announced it, or they might be announcing them tomorrow, but the changes at the Small Business Association and the resources they're providing for small businesses this go around with the relief package. I remember being on those conference calls when that first stimulus package went out to benefit small businesses, and looking at folks that I knew were from corporations who could sustain themselves through this, and they were getting big chunks of the pie. But I was seeing mom and pop organizations getting the crumbs, literally the crumbs, and now some of them are out of business. Don't miss a beat. Go to the SBA. I think it's SBA.us or .gov. Check it out. They're updating that continuously. If there's a conference call, get on it, and don't miss your opportunity to get your lifeline or an opportunity to retool and restructure your organization.
Okay.
And I know I said a lot, man.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Now, like we talked about, South Carolina is a melting pot, and wanted to talk just a little bit, if we haven't already touched on it. How can South Carolina continue for us to remain who we are? And when I say who we are, that's people born and raised in this state, and the people who are coming here to embrace South Carolina. How can we continue to keep it the same, but yet adapt to different people coming here from all over the country and world?
Yeah, and I'll say this, man. I feel like no matter where you come from, when you come to South Carolina to live, you're coming home. That is like the feel that you get when you come to South Carolina. We are just a very unique part of this country, and the key for us to embrace this new existence. I think everything's changing and finding equilibrium now, but we cannot, and I said this just now, we can't cling to the ways of the past. We got to adapt so that we can move forward into the future, right? And that's the same thing. we have to respect each other, do everything in love, and be ready to move on. And we have folks coming to South Carolina. If you look at the numbers for Charleston, I believe 46 people are moving to Charleston every single day. 20 people are moving to Greenville every single day, and about the same to York County. We're going to see massive population shifts by this next census. We're over 5 million people in South Carolina, projected to hit another million before 2035, right? So we're a state that's growing. Our culture is here. Everybody's going to pretty much adapt to it, but we just need to embrace this change that's happening, because it's only going to make us greater.
Cool. Okay, Brandon, what would you like people to know about you? I know that's a very, once again, a general statement, but how do you want people to know you? Like, who are you?
Man, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father, right? But I want people to know that I'm a person who understands that community is when you do good, I do good, right? When you hurt, I hurt. And if we are going to keep, to the that adage, it takes a village to raise a child, right? I believe that it takes a community to raise the village, because you have to have a common interest and unity to move that village forward. And that's the definition of community. So I want people to know that that is my focus. I want to make sure that we leave this place better for the next 3-4 generations to come, because that's really what we're working and living for right now. It's not just about me. It's not just about, us old folks who are getting gray hairs now. I just turned 35 and I'm full of gray. I'm just cutting it off my head. But it's for, my children, your children, and your children's children. And let's just keep it moving.
Okay. Well, that leaves me with my final question, which is a very open-ended question. If there's anything we didn't talk about tonight, that whether it be about you, politics, the country, the military, whatever, is there anything else you want to share to close us out?
Yeah, I want to share some good work that's happening around the state, and to shout a couple people out. One of our local attorneys, Mr. Montreal Belton. If you haven't interviewed him, please do. That guy is absolutely amazing. But Montreal has been figuring out how to operate in COVID-19. He's done it in a way that even when it looked like things would be financially strapped, he provided a service for free to people who were in need. And he saw that the return came back literally tenfold. And I won't keep talking about that good book that I read one time called the Bible, but that's what Montreal saw. Then there's another guy in my hometown of Aiken, South Carolina, named Christopher Emmanuel, who has a group called Sky's the Limit Foundation, who during the pandemic, they started an after-school program focused on young people. I won't just say kids, from elementary school all the way up to high school, just trying to get them off the street and give them something productive to do. Now that operation that they have is keeping kids out of jail, literally out of jail, and turn them around in ways that are absolutely remarkable. Because of him, we were able to go into DJJ facilities and register kids to vote. And the last organization is the Liberty Hill after school program up in North Charleston, South Carolina. They have 250 kids who all were destined to, hit education ceiling, right? when many of the students in that area were graduating high school with a fourth grade reading level. They came, and now they have fourth graders reading at a 10th grade reading level. So I just want to shout those three guys out. Liberty Hill is ran by Mr. Robert Flood, but I want to shout them out because if it wasn't for those three guys, I wouldn't be here literally in one way, shape, or form. So there's great work happening. You just look them up, and you'll see how these folks are impacting our communities in big and small ways.
Got it. Okay. So Brandon Upson, he has a like page on Facebook. Where else can we go and learn about you?
Man, I'm Brandon Upson everywhere. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Is not many Brandon Upsons, and I was the first one to get to Facebook and Twitter. So if you Google me, you'll find a lot of articles about me and other things about me. My wife and I, we're starting a podcast soon, so there'll be more content out there for you. But yeah, just find me. I'm all over the place, man. But just doing good work, and I'm happy, man.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Chris. And great show. And can I just say this before we go? Your interview, I know I told you this, but I had to say it on the record. Your interview with Ralph Norman was the best interview I've ever seen Ralph give.
Okay.
Period. Yeah. Man, that was a really great interview. Wow. I hope you get Andrew Yang. He's running for mayor of New York. I know you had one of the New York candidates on. I know you're from New York.
Yes.
So you got to get Yang. So you get the Yang gang on here watching your podcast, man.
I am. I was trying to find contact information for him. Just
I'll message.
But I'll continue to do that. But yeah, I think I appreciate the compliment about Ralph's interview. That's what I'm trying to do on this show. Is I think if they don't feel attacked or they feel comfortable, you're gonna get to know more about them and what they stand for.
Right.
But if you feel
that's the key. What you were able to do, you were able to get people to see Ralph Norman as a regular guy.
Well, that's cool.
That's what I enjoyed about it, because these politicians can stick to the script so much that they just seem robotic or detached. But you did a great job. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. That's what we're definitely trying to do here. So, once again, Brandon, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. No problem. I'm Chris Corrado. Now a word from our sponsors.